What's going on, YouTube? This is Marty coming at you once again from a comments man perspective. You know, I was sitting here waiting to go to work, just chilling a little bit, and I decided to do this video. I was sitting here thinking about, everybody, all these so-called black Trump supporters. You notice I don't call them conservatives because they're not. They're black Trump supporters. They're talking about the 1994 crime bill, but at the same time, they're not really doing their research on that term law and order. You know, law and order, that term was used back in 1968 when Nixon was running for president. And the reason why Nixon would use law and order as part of his platform back then was because he was trying to scare white people in the suburbs to vote for him in the South. And that was a way of him scaring white people, making them think that black people was going to run into the suburb and cause chaos and just tear the suburbs apart. And that's the same thing Trump is doing. When Trump is preaching this law and order, that's what he's saying. He's saying black people, minorities are going to move into the suburbs and cause chaos and destroy the community. Remember, he also said that he stopped low income housing from going into the suburbs, which no one knows where that came from, but that's what he said. So when these black Trump supporters are sitting here and they're pretty much saying the 1994 crime bill, what was it? Biden introduced that bill as a racist bill to lock up black people. What do you think Trump want to do? Trump want to lock up black people. Trump want to keep black people out of the suburbs. So he's trying to scare white females into voting for him. That's why I said sometimes we need to do our research. We need to educate ourselves before we fall into that trap. And Trump is actually setting a trap for his black supporters because they're so naive to the point where they don't understand Trump is talking about you moving into the suburbs. You, black people. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, y'all can sit here and say Biden was the author of that 1994 crime bill, which did lock up a lot of black people. But what was going on then? Why was those black people being locked up? Why was that bill so important? And don't forget, black people voted for that bill also. Black people voted for that bill. So if black people voted for that bill, don't you realize that black people was hurting? Black people wanted to see crime in their community under control. Y'all realize that, right? So the same thing that y'all are ignoring with Trump saying, it's the same thing the 1994 crime bill was about. Protecting the inner city neighborhoods from crime. The only difference between Trump and the 1994 crime bill, Trump is trying to protect the suburbs, white people, from black people. That's what Trump is trying to do. You know, sometimes in today's society, you cannot use certain words because you'll be obvious a racist. So you have to find a different way of putting things. So when they use law and order, those are code words. Those are code words for locking up black people. Think about that. Look at the riots. Yes, there's a lot of people out there doing things that was bad for the community. But what did Trump focus on? Did he focus on why the riots started? Nah. He only focused on what happened after the shootings or the killings. Because he don't care about black lives. He only cares about scaring white people into voting for him. That's it. No more, no less. And that's what y'all got to realize. So is law and order, is that saying different, any different from the 1994 crime bill? Since you black Trump supported like to bring up the 1994 crime bill as being a racist bill that Biden wrote, look into law and order. Do your research. Go back to 1968, the president race in 1968, with Nixon using that same strategy in the South to scare white people into voting for him, which Trump took that from Nixon. Trump is nothing but a copycat. Make America Great came from Ronald Reagan. Law and Order came from Nixon. He just repeating what other people already done. So if he's going to repeat Law and Order, understand where that term came from, where that term stemmed from. It stemmed from 1968 and the Southern strategy that Nixon ran to convince white people to vote for him because black people was going to move to the suburbs and take over. And crime was going to be infested in the suburbs. And that's what Trump is doing. So there's no difference, if you want my opinion, in Law and Order and the 1994 crime bill.